Hey everybody, I am James the Sock Knitting Guy. It is Sunday, March the 2nd, and welcome to episode number 3 of my knitting podcast, my sock knitting podcast that still doesn't have a name, but whatever. Listen, I know it's only been a week since my last episode. Usually I said I'd try and do these every 2 weeks, but a lot went on this week that was fun that I thought I should talk about, so I had to do another episode this weekend just for the heck of it. Not sure how long it's going to be, but whatever. How are you guys doing? Did you have a good last week of February, man? I know ours kind of went out a little bit on the cold side, but it's warmed up. The snow is pretty much melted now, and it's going to be spring soon, so I expect we'll probably get one last blast of winter before it's all said and done, because that's usually how it goes here in Pennsylvania where I live. But whatever. It's all good. It's the seasons, right? We're used to it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, let's see. Let's get right into it this week, because last week I was talking about colorwork socks, and I mentioned how I had messed up. I had knit the Lene sock from Summer Lee from her book, The Sock Project, because I wanted to, brush up on my color work. And I had messed up this sock because right here at the cuff, my tension was a little too tight. Like I had knit this entire sock. I had mentioned that the tension on my color work was too tight in general. So I learned that you could knit socks, colorwork socks, any socks, I guess. But I learned you could knit color work inside out to help with your tension. So that's what I did. I knit this sock completely inside out. But because I'm still kind of new to color work and all that stuff, the tension here right at the cuff was a little too tight, and I couldn't get it on over my heel for the life of me, no matter how hard I stretched. I couldn't get it on. By the time I got down to the leg and the foot, the tension was great. Everything else fit fine, but it was just this part of the cuff that I couldn't work out. So I was musing, do I want to continue on with the color work? What do I want to do? And so I had recorded last week's episode on a Saturday, and by Saturday night I was like, you know what? I had it in my head that I just had to conquer color work that weekend. I had to get it right. I had to get my tension right. I had to knit at least part of a colorwork sock that fit over my heel for the first time, because every other colorwork sock I've knit hasn't fit properly. Not to say that I've knit a lot, but you get the idea. So I turned back again to Summer Lee's book, because I had mentioned the scrimshaw socks that I wanted to possibly try. I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. So this is what I did most of the week. Sometimes I feel a little unproductive because, well, I used to feel unproductive week to week because I wouldn't finish a pair of socks, within a week or within 2 weeks or whatever. But I learned in my knitting journey, and maybe you've learned this too, I've learned to fall in love with the process of knitting rather than the finished product. Don't get me wrong, the finished product is great. It's so nice to have a finished pair of socks, but I absolutely love the process of knitting. So if I knit half a sock and find out I messed up somewhere, I don't care about starting over or ripping back a few rows or whatever. It doesn't bother me because I love the process of knitting. And so this week was another one of those weeks where I was just sort of enjoying the process and enjoying discovering more about myself as a knitter and what I can do. And so I give to you the Scrimshaw socks by Summer Lee. And I can honestly say that this sock probably taught me more about myself as a knitter and my tension and color work more than any other project I've ever done. And I'm going to tell you why. And it was all by a happy accident. Isn't that the way it always goes? Just by accident, you learn these things. So I started knitting on a 2.75 millimeter. I always go by millimeters when I'm talking about my needles because I just don't remember the US sizes. But anyways, 2.75 millimeter needles. I started knitting the cuff and the colorwork chart here. Now look at that. That's absolutely beautiful, right? And it fit. I knit it inside out, and it fit completely over my heel and my instep and everything, and it fit great. So much so that there was a lot of positive ease, like a lot. And as a sock knitter, you don't want a lot. You want to go for a little bit of negative ease, or at least no ease when you're knitting socks, because you want them to fit comfortably on your foot. You want them to grip your foot. You don't want them sliding off your foot, because who wants that in a sock? But anyway, so I knit the cuff. Great. 2.75 inside out. You can see the stitches are kind of big. I'm recording with my phone this week, so it's a little better. I might have to stick with this, but anyways, you can see that. So then I knit whenever I knit socks on 9-inch circulars is how I knit my socks. And then when I come to, if I'm doing an afterthought heel, I just knit the entire thing on circulars. And then when it comes time to do the toe, I just switch over to magic loop so I can do the decreases and the Kitchener stitch and all that good stuff. But when I do, I knit on 9-inch circulars. When I come to my heel flap and gusset, I switch to my magic loops to do that. And then when I pick back up for the foot, I switch back to my circulars, because circular knitting just goes so much faster for me than having to switch back and forth between needles. I know the time difference is minuscule, but for me in my brain, just knitting around and around on 9-inch circulars is faster. I enjoy it more. So that's how I knit my socks. But anyway, so I did the heel flap and gusset on my 9-inch circulars. And then those were on 2.75 millimeter needles. When I picked back up for the foot, I accidentally grabbed my 2.5 millimeter needles. Only me, right? And I didn't realize till I was about 20 rows into the foot that I'm like, why is these stitches are smaller? And I looked where my needles were, and I'm like, why is my 2.75 there? And I'm like, oh, that's because I'm knitting up my 2.5. So I had a dilemma. Do I keep knitting on the 2.75, or do I rip back and start over, or what do I do? And I thought, you know what? Because the leg had so much positive ease, I wondered to myself, if I just keep knitting on 2.5 millimeter needles, and then when it comes time to do the second band of color work, and I knit that inside out, I wonder what that would feel like. So I kept knitting with my 2.5s, and I got to the second band of color work, which is right here. And it's great. Like, look at that. The stitches are a lot cleaner on these smaller needles compared to, you see those stitches are they're big, they're spacious, I guess you could say. But I just think they're a little cleaner on the 2.5 millimeter needles, right? So anyways, I knit the second band of color work on the 2.5 millimeter needles, and I switched back over to my magic loop so I could try them on. And of course, the leg part whooshed right over my heel. And the part that was knit inside out on the 2.5 millimeter needles also fit over my heel. Just right on. Like, there was just enough ease for that to fit on my foot. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys have no idea how happy that made me, because never ever would I have thought that for me, knitting color work on a 2.5 millimeter needle would ever fit on my foot. But because I knit inside out, and because I learned what my tension should be from knitting this other sock from Summer Lee, the Lene sock, because I learned my tension, I carried that over into the Scrimshaw sock, and it fit. And guys, I feel like I have conquered colorwork now, in the sense that I have discovered my tension. I've discovered what sort of ease I need. And I just really, really like the look of the charts on the 2.5 millimeter needles. And like, I just can't express to you how happy I am. Like, when I did, as soon as I slipped this 2.5 millimeter needle chart over my heel, I literally was like, oh my God, I was screaming, and I was like, oh my God, they fit. Only a knitter could get excited about such things, right? But I was like, oh my God, I told my wife, I'm like, they fit. Oh my God, you have no idea. This is my Roman Empire. This is, oh my God, they fit so good. But then that leads us to this other issue. Is it's not bad. I don't care. Like I said, I love the process of knitting. So this was a process sock, because this part was knit on the 2.75, and then this part was knit on the 2.5. When you take a look at the sock as a whole, look at this. It looks like, it's hard to see, but it looks like a just a lopsided, weird shape. And so when I put it on my foot, this whole part here that was knit on the 2.75s just droops down. And I hate when my socks just droop down. So I love this color combo. I love is Teal from Cascade Heritage. And then it's a gold from Cascade Heritage as well. I can't remember the exact names of the colorways, but it's a teal and a gold. I love that color combo. I think it looks so elegant, so beautiful. So I'm just going to start over. Now that I know everything I think I need to know about my colorwork process, I think if I was to start over right on the 2.5 millimeter needles and knit these, they would look beautiful. And so that's what I'm going to do. I kept this all together because I knew I'd be recording this weekend. And so, yeah, I have figured out colorwork socks, and that makes me so happy. You guys have no idea. So that was pretty much my week. But like I said, I love the process of knitting, and I got a whole bunch of new yarn. Well, not a whole bunch, but I got 3 skeins of yarn this week. I mentioned that I had Opal yarn coming, and yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners. West Yorkshire Spinners. So I got, all right. So let's get into that here. Let's start with the West Yorkshire Spinners. When I get new yarn, I love to just sort of start knitting it just to see how it's going to look when it knits up. You know, even if I just knit a few rows or whatever, there's just something about it. Like I can see the swatch when I order it on the computer and stuff like that, but it's not the same. You know, you just love to touch it and feel it. So this is just this is the Christmas time Robin colorway from West Yorkshire Spinners. And I just started knitting up a little bit of it here. Let's see. So you can kind of see that focus there a little bit. But anyways, that is that. I love these colors. Look how beautiful they are. And if you actually see this knit up on someone's foot, like when you go to the product page and you see it knit up as a sock, it is absolutely gorgeous. It is so beautiful. So I had to cast that on just for me, just to see what it would look like. And that's on 2.5s. So I love that. And then I got some Vincent van Gogh yarn from Opal. I mentioned that Opal has always been sort of my holy grail of knitting yarn. I've always wanted to give it a try, and finally bit the bullet and bought a couple of balls of Opal yarn. Let's just get it. This is some Opal yarn that I got. I did start knitting it, and then I ripped it back because I was satisfied with how it looked. But anyways, this is the I believe the colorway is Gauguin's chair. It's I believe I'm pronouncing that right. It's after Van Gogh's painting Gauguin's chair, which he painted, I want to say, in the late 1800s, somewhere between 85 and 90, 1885 and 1890. I want to say 88 or 89. It was only a couple years before he died. But anyways, this colorway is modeled after Gauguin's chair. And if you know Van Gogh, he painted two chairs at that time, two chair portraits, one of himself and one of his friend, and that's Gauguin's chair as his friend. But anyways, it's a beautiful colorway. The colors are a little more muted than I thought they might be. They're just not as bright when you're knitting them up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a beautiful sock, but I think I'm just going to table that for now, which is fine. But Opal yarn, I'm really impressed with how it feels like a workhorse yarn. You know, like I can knit it and these socks will last forever, or, you know, for a long, 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 long time. It just feels that way when you knit it up. It just feels sturdy. So I'm really happy with that. I actually went ahead and ordered another Van Gogh print. I ordered Starry Night. So that's going to be coming later on this month, and I can't wait to see that because Starry Night is one of my all-time favorite paintings, and the colorway is absolutely beautiful. So to wear that is going to be fantastic. But that is Opal yarn, Gauguin's chair. Definitely good. And then I got another Opal that I started knitting up just to see. That's when I actually left on the needles. I don't know. This is Opal yarn. This is from their Zauberwald, maybe collection. I can't remember the exact name. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the colorway because if I do, I might summon some demons. So I'm just going to leave it as this. It translates into English to boat trip to the moon. That's what it translates to. But this is how it is knitting up so far. It is absolutely beautiful. I love the purples. I love the yellows. I love it all. I love it all. These are for my wife. She wanted this colorway. So I just started knitting it. I gave her a choice because I mentioned last week that I was knitting the socks for her from the yarn from Arcane Fibre Works that she wanted. I don't remember the Moonlight Magic, I believe, was the colorway. But they reminded her of some anime that she watches, Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe it is. But anyways, so I started knitting these for her, and then I got the Opal yarn and I started knitting that up. So I gave her a choice: which ones do you want first? And she wanted the anime ones first. So I'm gonna leave these on the needles for later, and I'm going to continue on with this for her and finish this pair of socks for her. But yeah, that's what she chose. And so now I feel like I can finally, I've figured out my color work. I'm very happy with that. And, you know, despite it being not a very productive last 2 weeks, I haven't got any finished products. I'm okay with that because, like I said, I love the process. I love discovering how things look, you know, all that good stuff. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, I've satiated my desire to learn colorway and, you know, got that out of my head, got that out of my system for now. So now I feel I can focus and finally get back to just steady knitting and finishing some projects in the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But yeah, that is it. That is it for this week. I mean, it's only been a week between projects, but that's what I wanted to really talk about. Oh, remember last week or last episode? Yeah, last episode, whatever. I mentioned that I only had one really serious project bag. I have it here now. This is the project bag that my wife got for me last Christmas 2023. God, we're in March and I'm still saying and I'm still thinking it's 2024. Christmas 2023. This is the only project bag I really use. And it doesn't say Knitting Boss on it. It says Yarn Boss on it, is what it says. Yarn Boss. And it's got pockets for like if you crochet. It's got all kinds of pockets. It's got lots of space in here. It's got the holes on top to bring your yarn through. I don't use that. I don't like that design aspect of it, but whatever, it's fine. But this is where I keep the projects when I'm working on them at home. If I'm going out somewhere and I take my knitting with me, like I said, I'm not a big project bag guy. I have no qualms about just stuffing my sock project in a shopping bag from the grocery store and taking it with me to knit. That's not a big deal for me. I know that's sacrilege to some knitters, but I don't care. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. And yeah, I think that's about it, guys. Yeah, so I'm happy to have conquered colorwork. I've satiated my desires to see what the yarn I got looks like. So I'm all set now. Just for the next couple of weeks, I can probably just breeze through some straight knitting and get some socks done for myself and my wife. And then, those are probably just going to be straight vanilla socks. And then once I get those out of the way, I can kind of go back to color work or patterns or whatever I want for the rest of the year. So that's it, guys. That short episode this week. It's only we're only at the 20-minute mark. That's okay. What else has been going on? Not much. Work has been work. I've been banging away this week, getting out some movie and TV news. As I said, as I said in my first episode, I'm a movie and TV reporter for MovieWeb.com, so I report on the news every day that breaks out of Hollywood. Sometimes I interview some cool people, celebrities, directors, writers, actors, whatever. So that's fun. And I mentioned in my very first episode that I was watching The West Wing, which I found funny because I'm not into politics. I'm not a political guy. Obviously, I keep up with what's going on in the world and in the country, but that's as far as it goes. But for some reason, The West Wing just captivates me, and I love the characters. I wish Josh and Donna would hurry up and get together. But I just started season 6. There was something in the Middle East where a bomb blew up and Donna's in the hospital and she had to have surgery and Josh is there with her and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Season 3 of The West Wing, their season finale of season 3 was probably one of the best I've ever seen on television. Oh my God. I don't know if you watched it. I don't even know if you care, but CJ had struck up a little thing with her Secret Service bodyguard and it did not end well there. And at the same time, President Bartlett was trying to figure out what to do with this terrorist guy, and it all culminated in this season 3 finale. And I was like, oh my God, it was so good. But that's where I'm at now. I've just been binge watching the West Wing, and also watching knitting podcasts that I enjoy. Summer Lee put out a podcast episode last Friday that I watched. The guys from Needles at the Ready put out another episode. So I've been watching that. My Bakery Bears, Dan and Kay Jones, who I absolutely love, they have a new episode, so I've been watching that. So yeah, I've just been watching West Wing and knitting podcasts and doing work and living life. And that's pretty much it for me this week, guys. So I hope this podcast finds you well. I hope your 2025 is going good so far. I hope you guys are anxious for spring, at least where we are in this part of the country. So looking forward to spring. I'm so looking forward to sitting outside and knitting this year. But yeah, listen, I hope you guys are doing well. If you got any questions, comments, whatever, leave them down below. Obviously I read everything. I try and like everything. But yeah, subscribe to the podcast if you want. If you don't, it's no skin off my nose, guys. It's all good. I'm just here having fun, talking to my camera, and if people watch it and like it, fantastic. If they don't, scroll along. It's your life. All right, guys. I am James, the Sock Knitting Guy, and I will see you next time for episode number 4. Happy knitting, everyone.